Hi, it's Paulie here. Ooh, with limoncello, Italian rocket fuel. I don't encourage drinking in other people, I just do it myself. Hi, look, so I got some fab ones for you. I had a game on my kind of, you want to buy it list for a long time, and I actually finally splurged and got it. Do not regret it. It's brilliant. It's called I Love the Corps. Another day in the Corps is like a day on the farm. Every paycheck is a fortune, each formation a parade. Yes, I'm obsessed with aliens, plural, and also things like Starship Troops and so on. And that's what this is. This is a game that is designed for military science fiction. Now, that could be a very pedestrian and humdrum thing to do, you know, explosions and posing or whatever. This is a very subtle game. It's clever as hell because it has that veneer on the top and it's got incredible depths below it. So it's designed to play some really interesting classic science fiction. That core of science fiction where you examine moral questions and so on, often lifting them out of the context of the day so that they're easier to play with. That's all in here. This is a brilliant piece of work and it's kind of overlooked. People might look at, oh, well, there's an aliens role-playing game. Just do that. No. This is for way more. It's not trapped within that one specific sliver of a genre. So, anyway, I Love the Corps. So it comes as a 3-book grouping. There's a player's manual, which is the Marine Training Manual. Then there's classified materials, which is the umpire stuff. And what they've also got is this really nice mission dossier, which is a whole bunch of adventures, and they're really good adventures. But the core of the game, it seems almost silly. It's a 1d6 based game. So you've got pretty simple characteristics, and they're all expressed in hoo-ah kind of American bullshit military terms. So you don't have strength. You have down and give me 50. There's no kind of dexterity thing. That characteristic is called like a freaking ninja. And you're keeping cool and so on, that's staying frosty and all these kind of things. So they've kept this wonderful genre idea. Typically, you know, you get some points to split between these, etc. Now, you get skills which are a number, characteristics which are a number, and what you're doing is you're just rolling. Well, there are 2 sorts of scenes. There are essentially storytelling scenes and action scenes. In a storytelling scene, where, you know, no one's life's on the line, it's not that critical, you just add 4 to the overall skill number, which is your training plus the characteristic plus you know, any bonuses you've got. And if that passes the difficulty number, you just breeze through. No one cares about it. In a combat situation, you roll 1d6 and add it to this. So it seems almost absurdly simple, but like I said, it's got lots of very interesting nuances. Essentially, they don't want mechanics of the game getting in the way of play. This thing is incredibly good fun. So, you create a character appropriate for this kind of military fiction. You are part of the Colonial Marine Corps, and the player's book tells you that Earth is gone, alas, something happened to Earth. It was hit by a comet, or it was it just grew too horribly polluted, or there was a nanite infestation, or a plague, whatever. Everyone left and colonized other planets, and it was found that sticking together makes more sense than people being scattered. So there's been like an over-government coming together. And the military arm of that is the Colonial Marine Corps. And yes, out there are all so many dangers. There is one alien race that has been met and admitted to, and they have some sort of interesting tech that's actually starting to filter into human tech. There are lots of crazy alien stuff on planets. Bugs aplenty. Horrible things. There's also rebels, people who've like turned against the government and are trying to, you know, take over colonies and so on. And there are sort of hidden, insidious terrorist elements and all sorts of things trying to stop the mighty march forward of galactic civilization. So there it is. You're holding the line, boys and girls. It's very inclusive. It's all done for boys, girls, you know, whatever gender presentation. Because, you know, hell, watch Starship Troopers or whatever if if you must. And hell yes, if you've got your COVID shower scene, you can do that here. So you pick something appropriate. You can be training as sort of line marines. You can pick skill packages that they've got pre-done, or you can design from the very beginning. You can end up being the heavy weapons guys. You can end up being corporals and sergeants. You can end up being the tech marines in squads that are really good at computery stuff. You can be the vehicle drivers, the pilots doing dust-off. There's also mech in this. You can be like mecha pilots. Boom, 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 boom. There are like a big heavy weapony thing that does turn up. Those people have kind of plugs and so on inserted, so you know, they've had some surgery to enable them to do this. You could play a tank crew. You could play a starship crew. You could play whatever. Discuss with umpire. It's all in there. There are non-pure strain human options because there were some genetic mods that were done to adapt people for different sorts of planets. So there are some people that have been adapted for aquatic planets. There are some that have been adapted for higher G environments or for thin atmosphere planets. There are also some specialised people that are adopted entirely for sort of zero G life. So some of the starships and so on you'll encounter will have people who really don't go down into full gravity very much, but they're sort of they're somewhat tall and long-limbed and spindly, and they're really good at this sort of zero G manoeuvre and all this kind of stuff. So you do have some options. There are also ferals, people who were genetically designed to be able to survive in wilder planets, so they've kind of upped their scent and their night vision and these sorts of things. These are all things that you pay for. Now, as you become characters, you'll also, of course, create lots of traits for your characters. There's some really good personality traits and so on that come through, and that's kind of the start of the nuance of the play. A lot of these things have a lot of really good storytelling and background in them, and you pick things that give your character, they give you a backstory, and they give you a forestory. What are you aiming for? What are you here? What are you hoping to achieve? Are you struggling for promotion? Are you a kid that was you know, in a gang or something, picked up and kind of thrown in here? There are some people who are essentially thrown into the Marine Corps as a alternative to prison sentences. You can play kind of prison marines and so on. The umpire will also put you together in different types of squads, so different types of things you can be doing. There are kind of specialised sort of exploration and scouting groups that explore new worlds, and there are alien ruins and so on turning up, lots of them, so you can be specialists that go into this. You could be specialists that, you know, you're combat guys, you fight people. There are also intelligence groups. There's a lot of undercover options if you're trying to get undercover to get into terrorist organisations or, you know, insurgents and all these sorts of things. So a lot of different options for play here. You have an atomic butt-ton of skills and so on that you can take, and extra attributes that you can do, and they'll allow you to, you know, get the best out of different sorts of weapons, shooty bang, choppy stabby, you know, whatever you want, it's in there. So people can obsess over making the best possible military character that they want. And now we go into spoiler territory, which is why we drink. So your players have that expectation. Now, you don't want to disappoint expectations. They want to play a military game and they're kind of buying into the war stuff. But you do want to kind of challenge and overturn those. And that's what this game's really good at. Once we get into the classified materials, and I am giving you a spoiler here, but it doesn't matter, that's the real universe that the umpire knows. It's a lot more sort of detailed. Now, this is a sandbox thing that every umpire can make their own, but what they've done is heaps and heaps of background material and suggestions for you to make this thing very richly your own. And it's just full of material, so it's like in their kind of default thing, no. There are other aliens out there, and there's only ones they officially admit to. There are possible reasons why you're finding these ancient ruins and things like that. And they start to kind of pitch a universe to you that's entirely paranoid. There's like an upper command that is nobly keeping dread secrets away from mankind because no one's able to handle this stuff. But on the other hand, it's also like an authority that's fighting against itself. It's keeping secrets within. So there's cabals and there's people keeping secrets from, you know, your own intelligence groups and your own investigation groups. And that therefore means that there's people who might be infected by things or taken over by things who are actually worming into positions of power because they've taken over these subgroups. It's very, very complex. So what looks like a simple thing of hoorah, your squads could find yourselves working for entirely compromised, you know, intelligence officers, or you might find yourself within this huge conspiracy, which sounds perfectly reasonable. We're going to save the Federation by, you know, overthrowing this. No, you're actually working. Are we the bad guys? Or you are the good guys. No one will understand the fact that this stuff's going south. There could be horrible connotations to things. All of these specialized humans and so on, that might not be human technology, or there might be essentially some spreading genetic errors that have come from these. So the reason why there are some strange prejudices against these people might be because it's gone horribly wrong. There's been some horrible mutations. It's a really nice setup. So again, your players have gone from simple shooting up hoorah kill the bugs to some really interesting potential sort of political and intrigue play. There's horror play in this. Now, they've done some really good tracks both for physical damage and so on, but also stress and horror. So you tag things that you are immune to. As you make your character, there are certain types of stress and so on that you're immune to. And sources of stress are quite interesting. Breaking the rules can be a source of stress. People like to sort of obey and follow the rules. You can be someone who doesn't care. First encounters with alien things. Encountering fierce elements of nature, big storms and so on. These are all sources of kind of stress and horror. As well as, you know, horrible, creepy things in the night. Or just plain combat stress where, you know, your best friend gets hit. People around you die. These all add up to stress. And you can totally freak out and go completely crazy. And for those of you who love The Abyss, a guy slashing himself under the table, all this sort of stuff is in there. So on the surface level, it looks like you've got to just not get dead. No, you've got to handle your stress and manage it. And so being the company joker and just doing things, this is very important, managing stress. And the leader characters that you might have, they've got to kind of keep a watch on people's stress tracks and make sure that someone's not going to freak out at the appropriate moment. So this plays well in like a frenzied combat situation. It plays really well in a creepy horror situation where you can just play these horror things which are sources of stress and so on to people. And it plays really well in intrigue when someone just asks you, hey, it's all right, just don't file the reports, and I need you to spy on, you know, the rest of the squad for me. You can do that for me, can't you? That's a source of stress to you, having to, you know, do the reports. And they've got masses and masses and masses of equipment, and again, the equipment's almost kind of a they're fishing a come on. As you obsess over having a better version of, you know, your shooty bang bang guns, you're missing the fact that the larger picture may not really come down to shooty bang bang guns. You're going to get thrown some really good combats in this, and that will be important, but the intrigues and the stories and the figuring out of things might be more important than how, you know, how good you are with that particular model of minigun. This is really, really, really good work. Now, they've done Mission Dossier. The Mission Dossier has an atomic ton of really good missions and scenarios in them. Many of them lead into kind of some interesting sandbox sort of things. You can develop this scenario onwards. This is just the tip of the iceberg kind of thing. And they do go from out and out stand-up fights against horrible bugs and so on, and you're finding that these bugs are way worse of a problem than you thought. There are some intrigue ones, you know, High Command's been infiltrated. There's some other ones where everything looks fine in this place, but there's like an actual hidden problem, and there's going to be a huge kind of bug bust out. They have some great creatures and monsters in there. They have wonderful guidelines for making your own and attaching effects to these things and making these things yours. This is a great piece of work. That D6 system what they do is they set up your stories almost formally. So they say there are essentially narrative sections and there are action sections. I quite like what they've done. They've said the point of a scene is that it has a point. So a narrative scene is there to do something. You meet this person. You have a chance to find this clue. You travel from A to B. You are on R&R, but you start to realise that there's trouble. That's what that narrative section is for. The action sections also have a point. You under attack, survive it. You have to bust in and get the hostages, get them. Suddenly these things burst through the walls, get out. You know, so they've kind of had this mission focus kind of idea to the way they lay out their narratives, and it's quite neat, it's quite tidy, it's a really nice orderly way of doing a scenario for people. So look, it's an overlooked game, it really is. Like I said, with the arrival of the Aliens role-playing game, you might have overlooked this thing. But this thing is made for much broader play than that. And you're going to keep your players guessing. They're going to be wondering what this campaign's about, which is not going to happen with something that's like entirely based on a media franchise like Alien. What's the game about? Aliens. You know, or evil corporations with aliens. This has got everything. So, like I said, they've got a long list of media sources and something they've drawn for inspiration. Now, of course, Aliens franchise, but also Predator, good old Arnold Schwarzenegger and so on, The Abyss, things like Starship Troopers, all that cool stuff that, you know, face it, we know and love. So it's got a lovely active series of tropes for both players to draw from, so they can sort of get their expectations going, and for umpires. So look, check this out. I love the core. Brilliant work, easy to run, a ton of background material. It's clearly a work of love. It's incredibly thorough and extensive. You know, masses of creatures, massive locations. There's a whole universe in here. They've done, you know, dozens and dozens and dozens of planets. They've done a whole layout. They've got corporations laid out. There's an entire setting in here, ready to roll, ready to pick up and play. Go and check it out. I love the core. It's brilliant. Cheers. Ding. And if you like the videos, yay, well, like, subscribe. Oh, find me on Patreon. Cheers.